Welcome to Hiring a Nanny, brought to you by Hand in Hand, the Domestic Employers Network. If you're thinking of hiring a nanny, then this is the course for you. To begin, I'll quickly introduce myself in Hand and give you a brief overview of the class so you'll know what we will and won't cover here. So hello, my name is Patti, and I will be your instructor for this course. I'm a volunteer facilitator and dues-paying member of Hand in Hand. I have two kids, Abe, who is 6, and Zoe, who is 3. So I was right where you are 6 years ago, literally, when I first became a new parent and very soon after an employer of a nanny. I appreciate how full your hands are, and I hope to be supportive and an informative resource for you as you take on this exciting but sometimes daunting step of bringing a nanny into your life. Honestly, this course saved me because I was able to get the help I needed in a way I felt ethically good about, and it answered questions I didn't even know I had. So, becoming an employer. If you are hiring a nanny, you are now officially becoming an employer. Most people don't really think of themselves as employers when they hire someone to work in their home, but the reality is hiring a nanny means your home is now their workplace. You are now a boss. Don't worry, we'll help you be a really good one. That's because Hand in Hand is the only organization of its kind specifically made to support and educate domestic employers. So, no pun intended, but you are in good hands here. We'll start with the things parents are usually most pressed to know: how the hiring process works, starting with a step-by-step guide and interview tips. In our best practices section, we'll explain how our recommendations came to be and how you can set clear expectations, understand fair pay, and how to handle paid time off. In our Get Ready for Nanny section, we'll go over a quick checklist on what nannies should do before they start and a quick employer checklist for you. So, hiring guide. First, you'll list all of your needs. You'll choose where you're going to search for a nanny. You'll map out your timeline. You'll write your job ad, and then you'll pre-screen some candidates. That's it. You're done. Just kidding. Let's walk through each step together. List your needs. So it's important to get really clear on what your needs are and then what things might just be on your nice to have list. Examples of a need could be having a provider who could drive their own car or someone who has experience with premature infants. A nice to have could be being bilingual or having special training or certification of some kind. You can go ahead and pause the video now to jot down anything that is popping into your head on these. Choose where to look. Word of mouth and asking your community are always a good place to start. Social media, such as on local parenting Facebook groups or neighborhood lists like Nextdoor. And for example, many times families will help a nanny find their next family and will place an ad that offering this on email lists and groups. There are also online agencies available nationally and possibly local agencies specializing in nanny placement. However, we don't go into these here as it's really focused on people who plan on finding a nanny on their own versus through an agency. You can also look for local community centers or places with childcare referral services, which may keep databases of people looking for work. And of course, online job sites. Next, you're going to map out your timeline. One thing many new parents learn right away is everything takes longer than you think it will with a baby. The same goes for hiring a nanny. If you can, give yourself 6 to 8 weeks for the entire hiring process, which includes time to create a job description, review profiles or applications, screen candidates, interview candidates, check references, and finally, offer the job and negotiate the terms of your agreement. Exceptions. Although most people find posting the job 6 weeks before the desired start date and conducting interviews around 4 weeks in advance of the start date work well, there are exceptions, and timing can also really depend on the nanny's needs as well. For example, some nannies try to minimize their time between jobs and may not want to wait many weeks to start. So don't sweat it if you are beginning early and not finding people who are available yet. Next, write your ad. Many people look for an existing job ad that they like and then just make some changes to make it work for them. I definitely did this. But that was before I knew that we had a sample job ad, and it's linked for you right here and in the resource index at the end of this course. In it, you should include your needs and nice to haves. Write a detailed job description, which you probably already know very well since you are currently doing it all yourself. Describe your family and work situation and what they can expect working in your home. Remember, you can also rely on this ad for screening and interviewing, so front-loading information here can help narrow the search. Pre-screen candidates. Hopefully, your ad will bring in promising candidates. Rather than interviewing everyone who comes your way, save valuable time by screening candidates. First off, have some pre-interview questions. They can be conducted via text, video call, phone call, or email. Confirm with the nanny again all the important details like how many children you have and how soon you need care, just to make sure that they line up. Also, double check those priority needs of yours. Once you've gone through your questions, you can decide whether an interview is worthwhile. Keep track and remember to take some notes for your future reference. Some of us can actually immediately forget an entire phone conversation when we haven't slept well in weeks. Now, on to the interview guide. We'll discuss preparation, interview goals, how to avoid discrimination, some sample questions, meeting the family, observed play, and references. Interview preparation. So before you go into the interview, try to have all the details settled about your schedule, your needs, your start dates, etc. Write a detailed job description. Print out 2 copies so you can review it together and each take notes. Write down your questions ahead of time and leave some space to take notes. This is totally one of those moments that people can sit down and forget everything they were about to ask. So having things pre-written really does help. The whole point is to get to know each other during the interview process. The interviewee might soon be working in your home, learning about all the joys and stresses of your life. So take some time to learn about them and how you'll feel having them in your home. You'll want to know how they came to childcare work and come away with a clear understanding of their work history. What do they look for in an employer, and see if you're a good fit for them. Avoid discrimination. One way to think about this is to consider what your need is and separate that from the identity of the person you are hiring. Focus on the job description rather than the candidate's identity. So you can say, we do not want religion or God discussed, but not ask, what religion are you? Or we want a nanny who will speak in Russian with our child, and not, are you Russian? To avoid being discriminatory, do not ask the candidate questions about their age, disability, immigration status, if they are or are not in the uniformed services such as military, their gender identity, their national origin, marital status, their sexual orientation, race, questions about pregnancy, or their religion or creed. Here's a link to the source of this from the Department of Labor, and it will also be listed in our resource index. Okay, now on to questions you can and should ask. What do you love about the work of childcare? What would you do on a typical day with my baby? How will that look differently a year from now when they are a toddler? Give a few scenario-based questions, such as, are you comfortable working with, insert your situation here, pumped milk, cloth diapers, a pet in the house, someone working from home, all of the above. What would you do if, insert your own hypothetical scenario here. What would you do if my child fell and bumped their head? My child began to choke while eating. My child hit or hurt another child. My child didn't want to eat any of the food I provided. Ask for stories and look for examples of challenges in their past work and how they address those challenges. Discuss their values and parenting philosophies and ask if they can explain their own values. Some approaches can be unfamiliar or challenging. For example, if you do or don't engage with strict sleep training with your child, ask them if they are comfortable with your approach. Meet the family. If there will be close contact with other family members, introduce them at the interview. It's ideal for all of you to spend time together so that everyone can assess whether it will be a good fit. Observed play. We highly recommend that you observe the interviewee play with your child. You can learn a lot about the kind of caregiver they are by seeing how they interact with your child and whether they make a connection. So schedule a paid trial if you are serious about the candidate. References. If you are serious about a candidate, ask them for 2 to 3 recent employer references. You can use the interview questions as a guide for this conversation. So I know that was so much information, and just so you don't feel overwhelmed, please remember that each part of this, the hiring guide, the tips for interviewing, our sample nanny share agreements, are all available in the links here in the resource index, and as always at domesticemployers.org. So how are you feeling? You're doing great, by the way. Now we're going to move on to our best practices. See you there. We hope you found this information useful. If so, please support our work and consider making a donation at domesticemployers.org/donate.